Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Temple Athletics. I'm your host, Christian Reilly, and we are here to give you an inside look at Temple's Division I athletics programs. Joining us in the studio today is field hockey head coach Roz Ellis. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
I'm actually
welcome.
the associate head coach.
Well, you're the coach today on
Yes,
the set.
I am.
Welcome to the show. So this is your first full season here as the associate Temple field hockey coach. So what's the experience been like so far?
And so far, it's been really rewarding. I love the city of Philadelphia, and I was anxious to get back in here. And the kids are great, the university's great, the support from the administration to our program has been amazing. So it's made it a really exciting first season, that's for sure.
Now, you're a Pennsylvania native as well, from what I understand. You're from Lewisburg?
Yes.
So how much of an impact did coming back to your home state factor into your decision to come to Temple?
It definitely was a factor. I have been bopping around quite a bit since I graduated college, coaching at different universities, and I wanted to get back to the state of Pennsylvania. It's a hotbed for field hockey, and when the position opened up at Temple, I definitely was excited about it.
So you talked about how you've been bouncing around during your coaching career so far. You came from the University of Louisville. So what are some of the differences between the Louisville program and this Temple program?
Louisville was a great experience, really great program and athletic department out there as well. But like I said, Pennsylvania is a hotbed for field hockey, so the recruiting process in general has just been a completely different world. We're able to bring kids in on day visits, and there's so many really great high school programs and club programs around here that there's just so many opportunities to go watch athletes, to bring student athletes in to see what Temple has to offer, and that's been a really great experience.
Now, was that the challenges with Louisville? Were there not that many opportunities to get out and see other clubs in the Kentucky area?
Yeah, I mean, it's further to go see a club, and also to get a prospective student athlete out to Louisville is a little bit more difficult. It turns into a weekend visit rather than just a day visit where they're here for a few hours. The families have to plan for that trip. So that was a bit of a challenge. Once you got them out to Louisville, it was really great, but the whole process of getting an athlete out there was difficult.
Now, Coach Mary Beth Freeman is also in her first full season here as the head coach. She's had an amazing background in the sport. She's won 5 championships at the Division I level as both a player and as a coach. So in just a short period of time that you've been with her, what have you learned from her so far?
I've known Mary Beth for a while, and we share very similar philosophies. So we were really excited to get an opportunity to work together. Throughout this season, we both have a lot of energy, and I've just really learned how to take that energy and apply it to tactical and philosophy and really get the kids to grasp onto it. She has a huge passion for the sport, as do I, and she really can articulate her passion into tactical and technical knowledge really well to the student athletes.
Now, speaking of the passion, are you both motivational speakers to your team when you need to be?
Yeah, that's for sure. We get really, really excited to the point where they're like, okay, relax. And we're like, no, we're really pumped about this one little practice. But it stretches from when we do video prep to little practices to team gatherings to our community service. Everything about this job and working with the student athletes, Mary Beth and I are very passionate about. So the kids have been grasping onto that, and it's been really exciting.
Now, what are those philosophies you talk about, that you teach to your team from a coaching perspective?
One of the biggest things is that, well, it's student first, student athlete, and they're more than just a field hockey athlete. You cannot go professional in our sport, unfortunately. So we really harp on the academics and giving back to the community. Them participating in community service, food drives, and being able to teach them what it is to be a powerful woman in the workforce, and using athletics as a platform is something that we strive every day.
So now you've had a successful playing career yourself. You were a 4-year player at the University of Iowa, where you were second-team All-American, among many other awards as well. You also led the Hawkeyes to a national semifinal appearance in 2008. So because you've had so much success in the sport as a player, how has your playing success helped you here early on as a coach?
I think through my process at Iowa, it really taught me what type of dedication and hard work goes into all the non-glamorous aspects. So game day comes, and the Final Four was great, but everything that led up to that moment was very hard. And that is what I try to instill in the players that I coach at any university I'm at is that every detail counts. Practice every day counts. You have to show up. And it's 2.5 hours, 3 hours of practice, but you can dedicate 100% of yourself, of what you can give that day, to that moment. And that's the only way that you're going to strive to get better each day, to reach the goals that you want. Anybody can have a dream of where they want to be, but it's the work that you put in to get to that dream.
Right. So the program here has been nationally ranked the past 2 seasons. So what's the foundation that you've laid out, well, you and Coach Freeman and the other coaches here, for your current players and the future players and even future recruits coming in?
It's the details that really matter every day going in. We came in and we've changed a lot of the technical background of these kids and the philosophy that we coach for game days. So it goes in and out every day of practice of them training their fundamentals. Fundamentals are what come down to the breakdown of the sport in each game. There's a lot of distractions on game day with fans, the other team, the refs, the other coaches, even ourselves on the sideline coaching our kids. And when your raw fundamentals are sound, those are what get you to winning games and to the next championships.
So take me through what the practice and even game day routines are like.
Which one do you want first?
You can go through practice first.
Practice, they warm up with our strength and conditioning coach, Claire Kaufman. So she handles them for 15 to 20 minutes. And then as soon as they come over onto the field with us, we're demanding energy, attention to detail, and just them communicating with each other throughout the entire practice. So those details alone take a lot of energy and focus from our student athletes. Throughout it, we like to combine with each other a lot with our midfield, defense, and forward lines. We like everyone to do everything because that's how it's going to happen in a game. A forward is going to end up in the defensive line. The defender is going to join up the field and be up in the attacking 25. So a lot of our practices encompass everyone doing everything at 100%. We'll break it down for them, and we'll explain what the drill means in a game setting. But then once they are understanding of what it needs to be, we expect them to go at it 100%.
Okay, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Temple Athletics Show with women's field hockey coach Roz Ellis. Stay tuned. Welcome back here on the Temple Athletics Show with Coach Roz Ellis. So, Coach, speaking of recruiting that we were talking about earlier, what are the go-to states, besides Pennsylvania on the East Coast that you kind of like to branch out to?
We do a lot of recruiting in New Jersey, Virginia. Obviously, the East Coast, with the proximity of everything, is easy to recruit at. But we've also brought kids in from California, Ohio. We're looking to make up our team of the best hockey talent, and we'll search for that wherever that takes us.
Now, is field hockey kind of branching out globally? Because you talked about how, obviously it's a hot spot in Pennsylvania, but it obviously seems like it's kind of, exploding.
It definitely is growing. There's some great hockey in Texas. Ohio has great hockey. Kind of skips to California, but the programs and development out in California has been really awesome as well. So, like I said, we will search for the best hockey talent, and wherever it gives us, we'll take it.
Right. So, about your team, you have every single player on your roster, with the exception of one, is from the state of Pennsylvania. So, I know you talked about it earlier, but just tell me about what does that say about the talent, the field hockey talent in the state of Pennsylvania?
Well, it just shows that they're teaching the sport in the state of Pennsylvania at a very young age. There's programs that start in kindergarten and second grade, and in a lot of the other states, they're not starting to play until 7th or 8th grade. So I think that really attributes to why a lot of student athletes in the state of Pennsylvania have a head up on other student athletes. But nonetheless, the sport is growing, like you said, and there's going to be a lot of other states that are tailing right behind Pennsylvania for sure. Now,
to your knowledge, I know that since everyone is from Pennsylvania on your team, have they played against each other in high school?
Yeah, that was something that I was interested when I came in to ask them about. How long have you guys actually known each other? And there's a lot of kids that either played club together or they've played against each other in high school, so they went from playing against each other for 4 years to now they've played together for 4 or 5 years. So it contributes to an interesting dynamic, as well as when we compete against the other Pennsylvania universities. There's kids that they're like, oh man, like I know her. We used to play against each other in club. It creates a really cool competitive atmosphere with the rivalry.
Right. So now let's talk about the current season. So maybe you guys haven't had the type of season that you've hoped to at this point, but you've won 3 straight games. So it's been your first winning streak of the season. And one of those wins included over nationally ranked number 12 Old Dominion. So what changes have you seen from your team over the past week that maybe, didn't take place early in the season?
I think, and we talked to our girls about this, they really attributed the past 3 wins, and starting with ODU, they have been, relentless the whole season of applying the concepts that we've been teaching in practice. And the past 3 games, they have really applied those concepts. They've taken the game plan and they've done it bullet for bullet, and they've been communicating line for line throughout the entire game, where there's been dips and lows to other games that we've come very close to winning, overtime, shootouts, and there is just this missing piece of a 70-minute field hockey game where the team is working together the entire time and inching away at bringing down the other team, and also being students of the game, making change throughout the 70 minutes. And these past 3 matches, that's exactly what they've done. Could
you tell me about some of those concepts that you've been preaching over the past week, or just even all season in general?
Well, one is communication throughout the 3 lines. We like I said, every position can technically do anything on the field. So the cohesiveness of them communicating, moving the ball together. We like to use the whole width and the whole length of the field. We like to transition on the field, make the ball go from one side to the other, and that takes a lot of work with off-ball movement and communicating to each other of where they're moving, where they're open, the runs that they're going to make through and wide, and sometimes that has just broken down for us in other games. And for the past 3 games, it's like they have telepath to each other of what they're doing. They don't even need to communicate. They have just gotten used to the movements that we've been practicing, and it's really shown. And then, of course, what I said before, the fundamentals, just the basic fundamentals of the sport, passing and receiving, hard passes, passing it to their stick, receiving it into space. That's something we've been harping for a while, and you just see them really thinking and applying it. Instead of trapping the ball dead, their first step is pushing into space. And then, of course, the running lines I told you about, there's already a next pass for them up the field.
So you have a big game tomorrow afternoon at Villanova, early afternoon, a 12 o'clock start. So what's the mindset of your team heading into tomorrow's big game?
Win. No, we know that it takes steps to win, obviously. Before each of the past 3 games, we've been talking about, before the game, we talked to them about, now we know that winning feels good and we want to win, but let's not forget how we've gotten those past 3 wins, what we've done throughout the game to get to that. And this past week training, we've continued to harp that to them, that it takes the little basic things to get the win, of working together, of communicating and following the game plan. So yes, we definitely want to win, but we're going to take it minute for minute throughout the game.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, this is your first year as an associate coach here. So what's it been like to coach these girls for the first time here at Temple?
Honestly, pleasantly surprised. Sometimes coming in with an entire new coaching staff, it's just both sides learning each other. But these athletes, they've been a joy to work for. They are ready. They are so competitive, and they have welcomed all of us with open arms, and us to them as well. Like I said, we have a lot of energy. So they've taken it, they've run with it, they've given it back. So it's been a lot of fun of working together. They ask a lot of questions. We welcome questions. That's how we know what they need to know.
Right.
So that's been a really great experience. And they are such a friendly group. They all get along so great, and they challenge each other. They're not afraid to tell each other that pass was off or that they need it harder. And that's the kind of athlete that you want to coach, the ones that are accountable with each other.
Now, obviously, heading into the season, you probably had team expectations. Have those expectations and goals kind of changed as the season went on, or do they still maintain the same?
They still maintain. We are going into Villanova, and after Villanova, we want to qualify for the Big East tournament. We qualify for the Big East tournament 1 game at a time. We want a Big East championship. Big East championship. We want to go to NCAAs. So no, the games leading up to this point have not gone the way that we want, but we have grown with each game, and we can still go after the same goals that we set at the beginning of the season.
So despite facing the adversity that you've faced this season, what in what ways have the coaching staff challenged your players throughout the season?
Well, I think, losing never feels good. So a big challenge for us is to take learning moments from each loss and really apply them to the next week of practice to make them our strengths, and then also adapt for the new game plan of the new opponent that we're playing against. So sometimes you can have a few losses in a row and you can crawl into a rock and be like, well, the season's over. But we've really challenged the kids to evaluate themselves after each game, and really we make them write down what they did well, what they didn't do well, and challenge them to work on those things throughout the next week of practice, make them a strength, so then we can go into the next opponent with a whole new bag of tricks, essentially.
So last question before I let you go here today. Do you have any plans to watch the football game tomorrow against Notre Dame?
Yes, I do, actually. The whole team is going to go after the game. We are, instead of tailgating, the parents are putting together grab-and-go bags so that they can eat their meal on the way back to Temple. Everyone can get to the game. It's going to be my first Temple football game because obviously we've been in season, so I'm really excited to go.
Well, you picked a great game to go to, that's for sure. Well, Coach, thanks a lot for coming on the program today. We appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of the season. We'll be right back here on the Temple Athletics Show with more from the field hockey team. Stay tuned. Welcome back here on the Temple Athletics Show. Joining us right now in the studio are field hockey student athletes Rachel Steinman and Haley Mitchell. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So, how's your semester been going so far?
It's going pretty smooth. I mean, it's kind of hard to balance academics and athletics, but I think for the most part it's going really well.
Yeah, we had a tough traveling schedule this year, but we've been doing study hall on the road, and that's definitely helping with our semester this year.
Now, what are your majors, both of you?
I am media studies and production and strategic communication.
I'm a kinesiology major focusing on exercise science.
Very nice. So you both are seniors, and this is your last year playing field hockey, unfortunately, as that sounds. So with understanding the adversity that your team has faced this season, has it made you just appreciate the sport that much more and just having fun playing your last year of field hockey?
Yeah, for sure. It's so weird to think that we only have one more game until hopefully we go into the Big East playoffs. But it's just weird to think that I've been here for 5 years and my season's coming to an end soon. So I definitely appreciate every single day I have.
And I think being stacked with 10 seniors, all of the underclassmen are really making this year go as well as we can. I mean, I know we've had, as you said, a lot of adversity, but it's been still a fun process with all the girls.
Now, when did both of you first fall in love with the sport of field hockey? And did you know all along that you wanted to pursue it eventually in college?
Yes. My sisters played field hockey when I was younger, and my mom coached it, so it kind of runs in the family, I guess. But I actually remember going to a camp at Maryland with Mary Beth as the coach, and after leaving that camp, I was like, I want to go to college at Maryland, I want to play for her, and everything, and it just kind of full circled back to this year.
I definitely fell in love when I met all my best friends through field hockey. Started playing in 3rd grade, and I just stuck with my core group of friends the whole entire way, and they all had the same goal of going to D1 for field hockey, and I knew I wanted to do the same thing.
Well, that's great. So you both have been playing for a long time, obviously. So pretty much your entire team is from the state of Pennsylvania. So what does that say about how big of a deal field hockey is in this state?
I definitely think that Pennsylvania is kind of the heart of hockey or the home of hockey, but I'm also really excited to get players from different areas. I know we won't be here, but I hear a lot of girls are coming in from different areas, and I think that's exciting to kind of expand the game.
I think it's awesome, coming from the state where hockey is huge, and you always have a lot of PA players on teams we play against, and we all know each other. It's just we've played against each other, so it's great having that type of competition between each other.
Now, obviously, going through a coaching change your senior year isn't necessarily ideal, but you obviously talked about how you had a relationship with Coach Freeman back when you were, in high school. So what's it been like to play for the new coaching staff so far your senior year?
Personally, I welcomed all of them with open arms. I was really excited to hear about the new coaching staff coming in, and I think this year has been really enjoyable because of them.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Haley. I was excited for the new coaching staff to come in, and personally this year I've learned so much than my past 4 years, and I have to give credit to the coaches for that.
So let's go back to the adversity that you faced this season. You've had 12 losses, but you've won 3 in a row so far. And so what does that say about your team's attitude and grit over the last week that you've shown, and just to keep fighting game in and game out?
I think it just shows that we're definitely not going to give up. Going into ODU, we knew we had so much season left, especially with our conference games. We knew if we win these conference games, we go into the Big East. When we win the Big East championship, we go into NCAA. So, yeah, we had 12 losses, but that wasn't determining the end of our season.
I think ODU was kind of like the spark for us, and I think each line has had a good game. Like defense has had a good game, and midfield and forwards. And at that game, every line had a good game. And I think from then we just kind of connected, and it's shown that we're really meshing together well as a team. It just took a little longer.
So, so with the combination of having 10 seniors on the team, along with the new coaching staff, how much of a responsibility do you seniors have to put a voice on this team, especially during the game while it's being played?
I don't think it's necessarily just the seniors. Like, everyone needs to have a voice on the field. But, like, being the leaders of the team, like, obviously we do need to be that big voice, but everyone has that, like, everyone can be that person.
Yeah, I mean, 10 seniors, it's a lot of leadership, a lot of different personalities, and I think each person has their voice on the team. And it's really neat to see.
Now, what's one, coaching philosophy that you've taken with you so far that you've learned from Coach Freeman, Coach Ellis, the rest of the staff?
They give us a lot of, they coach us a lot and say a lot of different things, but I think what I have taken is whatever you do it at 100%. And that even if it's a mistake, you're going to do it 100%, at least, like, you know that you put all of your effort into that play.
I think the biggest thing that I learned is, you're going to make a mistake, but it's what you do after that mistake. It's, you're going to hang your head and pout about that last play, or are you going to, like, get that next hit on or get that next shot on goal? So that's the biggest thing I learned.
Now, your season pretty much started from the very beginning of the semester. Take me through what your daily schedule has been like so far here over the last few months.
Well, we have classes in the morning. A lot of girls also work at the library, including myself. So we basically go from 8 to 1:50, and then we have practice 2:15 to 5:30, and then lifting Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So pretty hectic, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Yes.
Definitely.
So let's talk about your big game against Villanova tomorrow. What specific areas in the game would you like to see from your team to come out and try to get a win tomorrow at Villanova?
I'd really like to see a team win those 50-50 balls. It's something that has really set us apart, I think, in the last 3 games. Just beating them to the ball, and our receiving has been a lot better. So I'd really like to see those skills shine in the next game. That'd be great.
I think we really need to execute our fundamentals. It's a different surface, so we've been practicing all week in the pavilion to get used to Villanova's surface, but as long as we focus on those fundamentals, like I said, we should be good to go.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you talked about the Big East tournament coming up, so it's just 1 week away. What's the mindset of your team heading into the tournament next week?
Well, we definitely have to win Nova. We're focusing on Nova first, and then we'll take Big East when it comes.
Yeah. I think taking it one game at a time. So right now, we're not really looking at the Big East. It's right about Nova right now.
All right, well, Haley and Rachel, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate your time, and best of luck to you the rest of the season and in your academics as well.
Thank you.
That will do it for this edition of the Temple Athletics Show. I'm your host, Christian Reilly, and we will see you next week. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, anytime.